For decades, Singapore has been the uncontested economic powerhouse of Southeast Asia, a city-state with a world-class financial sector, a strategic location, and a government known for its efficiency. But what if I told you that the tides are shifting, that another country, its closest neighbor, Malaysia, might be on the path to overtaking it as the region's leading economic hub? Sounds surprising, right? To understand where we are today, we need to look at the past. Once part of the same nation, Malaysia and Singapore have had a complicated history shaped by political differences, economic strategies, and regional dynamics. Singapore was part of the Federation of Malaysia from 1963 to 1965, but deep rooted tensions over political ideology, racial policies, and economic disagreements led to its expulsion. Malaysia's leadership under Prime Minister Tunku Abdurrahman believed that Singapore's ruling party, the People's Action Party, was challenging its authority and disrupting national unity. On August 9, 1965, Singapore became an independent nation, an outcome few had anticipated and many believe would lead to its downfall. At the time of its separation, Singapore faced a bleak future. It lacked natural resources, had limited land, and was heavily dependent on Malaysia for water and raw materials. However, under the leadership of Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore transformed itself into a global economic powerhouse by prioritizing education, infrastructure, and foreign investments. Singapore built a robust economy based on finance, trade, and high-tech industries. Its strategic location along major shipping routes enabled it to become one of the busiest ports in the world. Today, Singapore ranks among the richest nations with a GDP per capita exceeding $80,000 and remains an attractive destination for multinational corporations and global investors. In contrast, Malaysia pursued a different economic model, leveraging its vast natural resources, including palm oil, rubber, and petroleum. The country industrialized steadily, focusing on manufacturing, export driven industries, and regional trade. Kuala Lumpur, its capital, developed into a commercial hub, attracting foreign investors, though not at the scale of Singapore. However, Malaysia's economic progress has often been hindered by political instability, policy shifts, and affirmative action programs that, while designed to address social inequalities, have sometimes discouraged foreign investment. Despite these challenges, Malaysia remains one of Southeast Asia's strongest economies, with a growing middle class, advancements in technology, and a push toward digital transformation. While Singapore continues to lead in finance, technology, and global competitiveness. So, back to the original question, can Malaysia surpass Singapore? While Singapore continues to lead in finance, technology, and global competitiveness, Malaysia is undergoing significant economic reforms. The government has introduced initiatives to attract high value industries, strengthen its digital economy, and enhance infrastructure projects like the East Coast Rail Link and Greater Kuala Lumpur development plans. Furthermore, Malaysia has a larger workforce, more land for development, and rich natural resources, advantages that Singapore lacks. If Malaysia can harness these strengths efficiently while improving governance, education, and innovation, it has the potential to close the economic gap with Singapore. Other than competition, Malaysia and Singapore's future could be defined by collaboration. Both nations are key players in ASEAN, and their economic ties remain strong, with significant trade and investment flowing between them. While surpassing Singapore remains a daunting challenge, Malaysia's continued economic evolution could position it as a formidable regional competitor. One of the biggest shifts in the global economy is the rise of BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. BRICS is challenging the Western led financial order, promoting economic cooperation among emerging markets. Malaysia, seeing the potential of aligning with this new global power bloc, is strengthening its ties with BRICS nations. China, in particular, has been a significant investor in Malaysia, funding major infrastructure projects under the Belt and Road Initiative. India has been increasing trade with Malaysia as well. This shift is setting Malaysia up for a future less reliant on Western institutions, giving it more flexibility to develop its industries and technology sectors. Why is this important? Singapore remains heavily dependent on the West. It has deep economic ties with the US and the European Union and relies on Western financial institutions. Unlike Malaysia, which is adapting to a multipolar world, Singapore risks being left behind if the Western led economic order weakens. Unlike Singapore, Malaysia has vast land and natural resources. It is one of the world's largest palm oil producers and has significant oil and gas reserves. These resources provide a strong foundation for Malaysia's economic growth, while Singapore must rely on trade and financial services. With global food and energy security becoming more critical, resource rich nations are gaining an edge. Malaysia is strategically positioned to benefit from this trend. Singapore is consistently ranked among the most expensive cities in the world, making it a challenging environment for businesses, especially startups and small to medium enterprises. High rental costs, expensive labor, and strict regulations add to the financial burden of operating in the city state. Office spaces in central Singapore can cost 10 Singaporean dollar per square foot, while salaries for skilled professionals are among the highest in Asia. In contrast, Malaysia offers a more affordable business environment. The Malaysian government has introduced several initiatives to attract foreign businesses. Initiatives like tax incentives, special economic zones, grants and funding programs, visa programs. Malaysia's digital economy blueprint, My Digital, and Malaysia Tech Entrepreneur Program, or MTEP, further support startups and multinational corporations looking to expand in Southeast Asia. Many multinational companies are now choosing Kuala Lumpur, Johor, and Penang over Singapore as regional hubs. Malaysia's manufacturing sector, especially in semiconductors, electronics, and automotive industries, has attracted major players like Intel and Tesla. Meanwhile, its tech startup ecosystem is booming, with Kuala Lumpur emerging as a competitive alternative to Singapore's tightly regulated market. If you were a business owner, where would you set up shop? In ultra expensive Singapore, where overhead costs eat into profits, or in Malaysia, where your money goes further while still offering access to Southeast Asia's key markets? Of course, Malaysia is not without its challenges. Political instability has been a long standing issue, and corruption remains a concern. The country must also improve its education system and workforce skills to compete with Singapore's highly educated population. But Malaysia is taking steps in the right direction. The government is pushing for digital transformation, attracting foreign investments, and improving governance. If it continues on this path, the future looks promising. Singapore is not going down without a fight. It still holds a significant lead in global finance, innovation, and stability. But the question is, will that be enough in a changing world? As BRICS gains influence and businesses look for cheaper alternatives, Malaysia is positioning itself as the next big player in Southeast Asia. Its vast resources, expanding infrastructure, and shifting economic alliances all point to a future where it could one day surpass Singapore. What do you think? Is Malaysia ready to take over as Southeast Asia's economic hub? Or will Singapore maintain its dominance? The world is changing fast. Power is shifting from the west to east, and Malaysia is riding that wave. While Singapore remains a financial giant, its dependence on the west and its high costs would slow its growth. Malaysia, on the other hand, has everything it needs to rise: natural resources, infrastructure development, and strong ties with emerging global powers like China and India. The question is no longer whether Malaysia can overtake Singapore, but when it will happen. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.